Let me get the obligatory, no, this is not my college in this photo, out of the way. This is just a photo I found on Google. I figured I'd get some people asking me, is this your college? In the comments to this video. So yeah, mystery solved. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about my first semester of college. It's technically not over yet. This is finals week. I take my finals on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Well, technically Tuesday's not a final. It's just watching leftover speeches of my speech class. But I'm going to get into that a little later. Um, I'm just going to talk about my experiences in college so far and my classes and such, and how college has gone for me pretty much this first semester. Anyways, I just want to say my college is overrun by SJWs. Oh my god, they're all over the place. No free speech at all on the campuses. A bunch of feminists running around spreading their nonsense. I'm joking. I live in reality, not conservative loony land. Anyways, let's get the controversy. Let's not get controversial in this video, okay? This video really doesn't warrant any controversy whatsoever, especially after my previous 3 videos. Anyway, so in reality, uh, you might know I made a video about my stupid summer math class I took back in the summer. I said I was very apprehensive about college and starting my first semester because I heard a lot of horror stories regarding college. Oh my god, the work is unbearable. The professors are nasty. They don't take any of your shit. They're not nice to you at all. I was so dreading this, and especially after that stupid summer class, I was like, ugh, is college really going to be like this, sitting in the same room for hours on end, bored out of your mind? Thankfully, no. My expectations were far exceeded. My classes were pretty easygoing for the most part. I didn't get an overabundance of work. I mean, yeah, I did have to write the occasional paper in like English and such, and I did get quite a bit of math homework every day. It wasn't anything like unbearable. It was just like several questions on a page in a textbook that I could do in like, I don't know, 30 minutes time. Um, I'm gonna talk about my math class more in depth a little later, but I'll say this right now. My math class was way easier than anything I've had to take in middle school, high school, that stupid summer course. It is math for liberal arts, so it's not like complicated shit like algebra or geometry. Well, there was a little bit of geometry, but it's mostly the basic stuff. But pretty much it's math that you actually will have to deal with in real life. So, yeah, that's the math class I've always wanted, not the stupid algebra geometry shit that I could never get, and no matter how much help I got, I still could never understand for the life of me. But yeah, math was pretty easygoing for the most part for this first semester, and I'm done with math too. If I just have to take the final, and that's it. I never have to take another math class in my life. Hooray! Anyway, I guess I don't have to talk about the math class now, since that's pretty much all I wanted to say about it. Anyway, um, I guess I'll talk about my history class. That's the first class I took this semester. That's the first class I was ever in this semester because my first semester started on a Tuesday, and my schedule is history first at 8:40 in the morning, and and speech second, and that's also my last class of the day from 11 to 12:25, 11:10 to 12:25 to be more exact. So, anyways, history fucking boring, to be honest. My least favorite class, and it's not because I don't find history to be fascinating at all. I like learning about history and searching about certain historical events in my pastime. Okay, it's not that I'm like, oh, who gives a shit about history? Of course, I can understand the importance and do find an interest in it, but when you're in a classroom and a teacher is giving you a lecture for like over an hour about about these certain historical events, it gets kind of boring, especially since it was an eight. It was at 8 in the fucking morning. I had to wake. I have to wake. I had to wake up at 6 in the morning every Tuesday and Thursday, and you know how much I love doing that. Sarcasm. I was always so tired, and I would always be on like the cusp of zoning out. Well, I did zone out a lot in that class, but I'd always be on the cusp of passing out in that class. Nothing against the professor or anything, but the class was kind of boring. She was easily my toughest professor too, not in terms of like giving really hard work or anything, but she's the only professor. She's also my only female professor this semester. She was the only professor out of all my professors that I had in this semester that would tell you to put your phone away. She tolerated phones like not at all, and she was tough. Okay, she was tough in the sense that she will actually get pissed at you if you do something that pisses her off. All my other professors, they really don't care. Either they just don't say anything, or they just silently bring your participation grade down for the class. My math teacher, he doesn't care at all. Like you could use your phone as much as you want, and talk to other classmates as much as you want. He just keeps going and going and going without saying anything. So I guess he doesn't give a shit at all. I don't know, but my speech professor, he would say he would bring your participation grade down. He wouldn't yell at you for using your phone or talking to other students when you're not supposed to. And my English teacher, I think he's the same way. I'm not entirely sure. He didn't really seem to care either. But that's my history class in a nutshell. I didn't really enjoy it all too much. It was, again, pretty boring. The only plus side is I sat right behind this really, really pretty girl. No, I never really had the opportunity to talk to her. The most she said to me was when we were waiting before class started for the teacher to arrive. By the way, my history teacher, she's always like 5 to 10 minutes late to class. I don't know what the fuck she's doing or where the fuck she's coming from, but every single day, pretty much, she's been late to class. I don't know why, but anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. The most that girl ever said to me was "excuse me" when she wanted to throw something out. I was standing in front of a garbage can, so yeah. Anyway, moving on to speech. For the longest time, I was like, "Yep, this is my worst class." But no, I mean, unlike history, speech was actually pretty interesting when it wasn't me going up there. At least I enjoyed hearing other students take the helm and not hear a professor lecture you to death for over an hour. You know, watch students take the helm and do their own speeches. Each speech was only like 5 minutes long. It wasn't anything crazy like we had to make a 20 to 25 minute speech or anything, but. Um, it was definitely the scariest class I've had to take this semester. As you probably know, I dread public speaking. I am terrible at speaking in front of people, which you might consider ironic, consider I do this YouTube shit, and I'm more than comfortable with talking for an extended period of time. This video being more than enough proof of that. But anyways, when it comes to actually physically standing in front of a crowd of people, like if I was I get about 100 viewers per video, sometimes more, sometimes a little less. If I was standing in front of those 100 people, like physically standing in front of all of them, doing these videos, doing my rants in front of them, there is no fucking way I'd be able to do that. I would stutter like hell and just I'd be visibly nervous too. And that's how I was when I was doing these speeches. One speech was about a story in your life that people could learn from, and a story that people can know more about you. That could help people know more about you, I should say. And if you're wondering, I picked the loss of that old man I talked about a few years ago in a video, and the second speech was another story, but this time you had to like cite sources and such, and it was about my stupid summer class. I decided to vent about that in front of all the students. The third one was a how-to speech. It was pretty much the name of that is pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty much a tutorial speech. I did a tutorial on how to alleviate anxiety, not completely overcome it. And the fourth speech was a persuasive speech, and I did that speech. That speech was about how I think cats are the more ideal pets over dogs. The way that class worked, with the exception of the third speech, we just went in random order that time, is we would write our name down next to a number, and whenever the professor gets whenever we get to that number, that's when you go up. I usually picked like one of the last numbers. I think it was out of 30. I would pick like 25 or 27 numbers on there. I didn't want to be dead last, but I still wanted to be one of the last people. And some people have told me, well, why don't you want to get it out of the way? Some students held that philosophy. One student, he was very, very nervous about these speeches, but he still was like literally the first or one of the first people to present because he just wanted to get that shit out of the way, but that's not how I operate. I like to, I know this is probably a bad trait to have, whatever, but I like to push things as far as I can as possible when it's something I really don't want to do. There would be some nights where I would have trouble sleeping, and it would be like the night before the day I have to present, or at least the day I'm certain I'm going to present on. And I'd be like, "Ugh, I know I'm gonna go tomorrow. Oh my god, I'm gonna make a fool of myself. I'm gonna embarrass myself in front of the whole class. It's gonna go terrible." And for the most part, these speeches didn't go all that bad. I mean, maybe I beat myself a little too much up after after presenting in front of the class. Like immediately after his speech, I'd be like, "Oh my god, I embarrassed myself. I did so bad up there." And then the professor, he usually sends like a PDF file of the sheet he filled out while you were presenting your speech, which is pretty much the grading sheet. And I would see my grade, and I'd be pleasantly surprised. There were some times where I got A's and B's. My last speech, I got a C, but that's not too terrible. But I heard he's a really harsh grader. Like other people have gotten like D's and D's minuses, and I'd be like, their speeches weren't that bad. What the fuck was so bad about them? But turns out he's a really tough grader, and I think he favors certain students over others. That's what some people have speculated because some people have done almost objectively worse than certain people, but they still got a better grade somehow. And I feel like he favors me because we both have the same first name, Michael. He likes to talk to me sometimes. Be more friendly to me than compared to other students where he's not nasty or anything. He doesn't act like an asshole to anyone. He was overall like a funny guy and warm and, nice, but he would talk to me more than other people, I noticed, so I guess there was some kind of a connection there with us having the same first name, which thank God. I mean, if we didn't, I'd probably be in the same boat and getting these really bad grades when I probably didn't even deserve them. But yeah, that was certainly a scary class, but still a class I overall enjoyed. I mean, I'm so happy that I got it over with. I don't have to worry about speeches ever again for the rest of my life unless one of my classes next semester requires me to do a class presentation, which in that case, oof. But for now, I know that I don't really have to worry about doing these on a regular basis, at least, anymore for the rest of my life. Thank fucking God. You should have seen me up there. I was stuttering like a motherfucker. I was very nervous and very, very different from how I am in these videos where I can just, talk at extended periods of time with no problem, with little to no stuttering and all that. But in this, a lot of stuttering, a lot of messing up, me like me saying the wrong thing at the wrong time and being like, oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to say that right now. Oh, God, I made a fool out of myself. And especially, like, sometimes the professor would ask, like, certain questions after the speech. It would kind of nail you on certain things if you left something out or if you said something or did something in the speech that he didn't exactly like. He would definitely ask you and question you on that and put you on blast pretty much. He wouldn't yell at you or anything. That I'm sorry for making it seem that way, but he would ask like tough questions. That's what I'm getting at. He wasn't like my fucking ninth grade history and senior year economics and government teacher where he would be a complete asshole to you while up there. He was respectful and definitely a lot better than that teacher. Oh God, I really don't want to remember him, but yeah, sometimes I did kind of sort of have trouble answering some of the stuff he asked, and yes, I am kind of embarrassed over that because I feel like I did make a fool of myself in front of the whole class, but again, the class is over, thank God. My English class was definitely my favorite class. Big shocker. For the most part, it was a pretty easygoing class. For a lot of the semester, we would devote like the last 30 or so minutes of class to watching movies, and we didn't just watch movies for the fuck of it. We were studying these movies to write an essay at the end about how they were all movies about pretty much musicians trying to get their start. And it was the essay question was how do musicians get their music into wide circulation, or you could of course, make up an alternative question if you want, if you don't find that question all too interesting to write an essay about. But like a normie, I picked the default question. Anyway, I really did like that class. It was again my favorite class. The professor was really really chill. He was very soft spoken guy too. He was very nonchalant about essays and such. Like in middle school, elementary school, middle school, and high school, that they would always fucking get on your case if you write I, me, or my in essays. This professor is like, I, me, and my are words in the English language. Why should they be excluded from essays? And he was like really chill about that. And I'm like, fucking thank you. I've always had trouble with that in primary schools. Okay, I've always wanted to write I, me, or my in certain places, but I'd have to swap them out with other words that I would have trouble coming up with because I, me, and my would fit so well in these certain sentences. I'm so glad this professor's like, no, fuck that stupid shit. That's garbage. He didn't have all these ridiculous standards for essays like a lot of elementary school, middle school, and high school teachers have. He was pretty cool about it, and he let us just write whatever the fuck we felt like writing with these essays, pretty much. We had to write a couple of papers. The first one was an essay where we had to read through a book filled with hundreds of poems. Of course, he didn't expect us to read all of it, but whichever poem that caught our attention, we had to write about. We had to write about, I think, around like five of them at least, and we had to write an introductory preface about it, and it was actually kind of fun. I wrote some personal stuff in there and wrote about how these poems connect to me and how I felt about them, what I thought about them, and I really enjoyed writing it. It was a lot more enjoyable than I thought it would be. And usually I hate writing essays. Throughout middle elementary school, middle school, high school, I always hated essays. They were always my least favorite part about English class. I always liked reading stuff or writing short things about what I was reading about or things in general, and or write poems and things like that, stuff like that. But it was always the essays that I dreaded, because the teachers always was always like, you have to do this, this, and this with your essays. But my professor was like, no, you have a lot more freedom in this class than you did in high school. So yeah, that class actually did make writing essays enjoyable. I never thought that would be possible, but it, it made possible what I thought was impossible for the longest time. And hopefully my future English classes in college will be the same. Anyway, that's all my classes out of the way. Yeah, I did touch up on my math class, but I already pretty much said what I wanted to say about that math class. It was much easier than what I've been dealing with for years. There you go. And the professor was pretty cool. He wasn't, chill or anything. He just kind of sort of taught the class in a boring kind of way. He would let the kids pretty much do whatever they want, use their phones, talk, whatever, and he would just keep going without saying anything. So, yeah, that class was also kind of boring, but whatever. So, yeah, those are all my classes in college. I only took four of them. I really liked my schedule. Aside from Tuesdays and Thursdays, where I had to wake up at fucking 6 in the morning. But the really good thing about those days is my days always ended before 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would always be home by around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would have the rest of my day to myself. That I really loved. And most of all, what I loved on Mondays and Wednesdays was that my classes started at 2 in the afternoon. So that means I always woke up at around 10:30, and I would always be refreshed and recharged. I've always been someone who despised waking up early in the morning. I like waking up later in the morning or in the early afternoon. That's always suited me well. So I was always like up and energized whenever I took my Mondays and Wednesday classes. The commute is around 40 minutes long to and from the college. I have to take two buses on the way to and back from the college, unfortunately. And sometimes certain days, mostly on Tuesdays and Thursdays, sometimes my second bus, the one I have to take all the way back home, sometimes it takes so fucking long to come. Sometimes I have to wait at the bus stop for over 20 minutes, and that causes my commute to be like an hour or over an hour long. Oh my god, I hate that so much. And unfortunately, that's probably not going to change in my second semester at all. Certain days I had to like go to like certain meetings and such and do other things where I would have to where I'd have to go home around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And by my second bus stop, where I catch my second bus, sometimes on those days it would be filled with high school students because there's a Catholic school around that area. And oh my god, they're fucking rowdy, obnoxious, annoying. I hated riding the bus so much with them, and I hope I never have to ride the bus with them ever again. But aside from that, the commute is fine. I'm perfectly okay with taking the bus. There's really no other alternative anyway, so yeah, I just kind of sort of have to like it. But no, it's not like I'm forcing myself to like it. I do legitimately like taking the bus. It's nice and quiet most of the time, because usually I commute either early in the morning or in the early afternoon. So yeah, there's hardly anyone in the bus at those times, because mostly everyone is at work or at school. It's mostly just a bunch of old people or some other teenagers from college that are on that bus that mostly keep to themselves. Oh yeah, you want to know one major downside of coming home around 12 is now, for you people at least. around this time the leaf blowers come, and whenever I want to make a video, and I usually make videos around 1 in the afternoon now, this is when I get home from college on certain days. The fucking leaf blowers are in the background of the video. You probably hear them clearly, and you're probably pissed off. You're like, what? Why are you recording when these people are outside? Because I really don't have the chance to record any other time of the day. So yeah, fucking deal with it. Anyway, so yeah, joking aside, I do really like my schedule. It suits me a lot more, a lot better than how my high school schedule was. Oof, definitely. And speaking of high school, do I miss it? Some people have told me, and these are mostly people in real life. I don't think anyone on the internet has told me this, but some people have said to me, once you're in college, you're gonna miss high school. You're gonna so wish you were back in high school. So, do I miss high school after my first semester is over and I have a good idea of what college is like now? Do I miss high school? Fuck no. I so much prefer this. So much more freedom. The schedule is much better. The professors are not assholes like a lot of my high school teachers were. I so much prefer college over high school so far. Holy shit. By a huge margin, too. Not just by a little bit. And, I guess one thing high school had the edge over college with is friends. I hardly have talked to anyone in college. I've bumped into some people from high school and I'd be like, oh, hey, what's going on? Sometimes I'd be able to talk to them throughout my whole break, but most of the time I kept to myself. I didn't really talk to anyone. I was pretty silent in all of my classes. And you know what? I'm completely okay with that. Would it be nice to have some friends be made in college? Sure, okay, everyone wants to make a friend, of course, and I wouldn't complain at all if I did make some friends in college, but for now, I'm pretty okay with just being the silent kid. For the most part, in pretty much all of my classes, the kids have kept to themselves. No one really talked to each other all that much. Um, Aside from some kids, but for the most part, it wasn't like high school where everyone was talking to each other and everyone was like an obnoxious asshole. Not like that at all. I'd so take my college classes with pretty much mostly silent kids over the kids in my fucking high school classes any day of the week. Holy shit. And for me, that kind of environment is better. It helps me focus more, which I'm sure would help most of you focus more. I mean, which environment would you prefer when it comes to learning? An environment where pretty much all the kids are silent and do their work and behave and not try to piss off the teacher, or an environment where the kids are fucking loud, rowdy, always trying to piss off the teacher? I'm sure most of you would prefer the former, okay? I don't think that's too much of a stretch to say. But in a nutshell, my first semester of college went pretty well. I really liked it. I thought it would be a lot worse than it is, but that's just my usual. That's just me. That's just my how my mind usually works. It makes things seem a lot worse than they really are in reality. That's just anxiety for you. But anyway, there's nothing really else much to say in this video aside from, yes, I really do like college, and yes, I am kind of sort of looking forward to my next semester. After I finish finals, I have the rest of December and almost all of January off, and I'm so happy about that. It's a much needed break, especially since I didn't have a summer break this year. But the second semester seems like it's definitely going to be the harder semester. I have 6 classes next semester as opposed to this semester where I had only just 4, and one of my classes is 3 hours long, and that's a bio lab. um I hope I do well. I hope I won't fall behind next semester, God willing. And I hope next semester is more reminiscent of this semester where I was like, you know what, this semester wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. That was actually pretty good. I really hope next semester's like that, okay? God willing. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye bye.